Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to continuously evolve? Well, we got a great show for you. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, and as always, I'm here with your host, Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. Boom, there it is.
Boom.
You can pick it up on Amazon or giantsandsmalls.com. If you follow us on Facebook, you can see when we go live. YouTube, you can see when we go live. Hit the subscribe and the alert button so you know when we go live every single dang time. And then follow us so that you know when we have the SG groups. Right now, we're finishing up SG7 and SG8. We'll be launching SG9 here in the future. We'll find some times and we'll let you know when that's happening. Nick, do you have any other announcements
I
for
don't
us?
right now. I think we're actively pursuing participants in those groups. So that's kind of where we're at. I love seeing people come out of the other side of that. Come out as giants.
Sweet.
Cool.
I'm excited for today's show. Will you introduce our guest?
I will. We've got Becky Robbins joining us. So Becky Robbins has created many roles and identifies in her life and identities. I'm reading like Anchorman here, so we're gonna do this right. So, and they reinforce who she's being and continuously evolving. A lifelong learner on a path of spiritual growth and humanitarian causes is a thread woven into each day. As a co-founder of Robbins Research International and first wife of Tony Robbins, she was a pioneer in the personal development business and expanded that into a brand with a global reach of over 14 years that's still thriving today. She describes her life as cyclical, and after leaving RRI, she embarked on an art career with her current series of original oil paintings that are her signature and embody the divine as she is influenced in this process. Her prints and originals are collected around the world, and she lives in California. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that I figured this all out.
I know.
I've just evolved into being a tech person. So
There you go, right? So we find that some of the best shows happen when there's a technical glitch. We had one show where Zoom went down nationwide. Right when we went live, Zoom went down. And it was a phenomenal show. Something we probably need to redo.
wow.
It was phenomenal. Let's redo it. That's awesome. Well, good. Let's dive in. So our goal here is to highlight your life and have others see themselves as giants through your journey. And so we like to go back in time a little bit to a point where you thought you were somebody, maybe that a level of unconsciousness around it, where you had a way of being that maybe wasn't your most powerful or your current way of being. Do you have something in mind that we can start with there?
This would be a deep dive, Nick, um because I just sat with Steve for the last two times I've been with Steve Hardison. And we've been talking about this because I've been on a spiritual path. I'm not going to say my whole life, because I'm going to say I was in organized religion as a kid, and then I kind of left that, and then I realized that there was so much more out there that I could learn. And thank God I had been involved in that prior to my tenure, in the organization you just described, because
Yeah.
it gave me a basis to go to when things were rocky. And no, I wasn't who I am today. Like, not a molecule of me is the same person today. And the conversation that I just pointed back to with Steve Hardison was all about the agreements that you make in your life. Part one was the agreement you make in your life with people, and any people, like you and I, like we agreed that I would come on 10 minutes early to get my
Yeah.
tech handled. And thank God you said that, because I was so committed to that. And I at 8:01 I made it happen. But it's the agreements that you make and the agreements that you keep, that you be your word. No
Right.
matter what that is, that you be your word. And I thought I was doing that. But then as he was going further with me, I realized that the agreements that we make are so profoundly important in our life. So that was step one. And then the second thing was, who am I being um, while I'm living my life from a more of an unconscious way. And I didn't know what I was being back then. I just knew that I was trying to do everything, that a million things all at once, that I was trying to make everybody happy, that I was trying to still be the things that I learned as a kid, like seen and not heard, but I had to be heard, and stepping into my own. It's like, who am I? But only since I got out of that environment have I started to really, really grow, because I had to.
Yeah.
Had to.
Was there a space in that where the awareness brought up a lot of judgments and stories and justifications for who you were, and potentially kept you stuck for a minute?
Well, I think I was in a victim role. I
Okay.
think I think that caused me to be stuck. I felt like, oh my gosh, what just happened to me, and what happened to my life? And now who am I going to be? Like, if I'm not Becky Robbins, who
Mm.
am I? And it was like so interesting, because it was such an identity that I had for so many years. But it wasn't just the identity of like, here's my name. It was like my whole job description, my entire life, other than being a mother of my 3 kids, my whole life was that.
Wow.
So when that's something like that is sudden, well, not suddenly, I don't want to say suddenly, but when I actually cut the cord and was out of there, um, yeah, it took me some time to figure out, what am I going to do and who am I going to be? And I remember there was a pivotal point. I remember this so clearly, because my son and his girlfriend walked in the room. They walked in the door of a rental house that I had just moved into. And I'd been going to this great church, kind of a non-denominational church up in LA called Agape Church. And there, every morning they would sing this song called Use Me. And it was beautiful, and everybody would stand up, and they were like, and one of the parts of the song was like, it was all about like, please God, use me. And I felt that's where I was at the time, like, use me, I don't even know what I'm here for. And I remember like the part of the song that was saying like, use my hands. So I had my hands like this, and my son and his girlfriend walk in the front door, and I'm crying and singing it, standing next to the stereo, and with this little cassette tape I'd put in there. And
Wow.
but you know what, that was, I'm not that dramatic normally, but I was in pain and suffering right then. And I
Yeah.
think I had an answer to that. When you're asking with that kind of fervent, desperate please, I think that all heaven
Yeah.
and earth moves.
I want to stay here for a bit because, Becky Robbins, you started this company, 14 years, you built it. You have an identity around it. It's who you are. It's everything outside of raising kids. It's everything for your life. And then it's gone, right?
Mhm.
Can we speak about grief a little bit? So grief, a lot of times people associate that with just death or loss, around a loved one. But what about an identity? Was there grief around your identity? Was there grief around what you thought would be by that point in your life?
Well,
Can you
of
speak to
course,
that? Yeah.
of course, the grief part. Here's the other thing, you guys, is that when I was maybe 6, 8 months before that, my father died.
Mm.
So I mean, he was my hero, and it was a long, painful time until he died. And then when he died, um, my former husband had told him, like, don't worry, I will take care of Becky. And then so that was another part of like, wait a minute, how is this even, like, now what? Now what do I
Yeah.
do? So I was grieving my dad. I still grieve my dad, honestly. I still, a girl and her father kind of thing. But I'm in a healthy place now. But I think that's where I think the victim thing came in, because I was saying that, this is now I know that this is irrelevant, but it wasn't at the time. It was like, wait a minute, I'm the good guy. Like, I'm the good one. Like, how can that be happening to me? And I see that happening in our culture too, where people feel like, how can this be happening? I'm a good guy. I'm a good one. I'm a good person.
Yeah.
So like, I want to separate, like, who was I being that caused me to not succeed in that, or whatever you want to call it. I don't, it
Sure.
really wasn't that, versus I'm a good person, because I was being a good person. I just wasn't being all I could be, meaning like step up into my power and really own what I'd created there and create a positive separation from it, which I don't even know if that's possible. But
Yeah. Well, I heard that, I think it was Dr. Gabor Mate, he says that we don't move on from grief, we move forward from grief. And so it's not like you ever forget these people that were in your life. Like your dad will always be a part of your life, but you move forward anyway. So you bring him with you. And some of these creations, you spend so much time in them. I was married 17 years before we got divorced, and it's like she will always be a part of my life. We're raising kids together. Like that'll always be there. And I think what I want to highlight is that nobody is immune from this. Like we all experience loss in some form, but it's how I think it's more about how we experience it or what we do with it when it happens, because it will happen. But who are you going to be when that does happen? Did you move into a space of acceptance, or is there more to share around that grief that you wanted to share that might help our listeners?
well, I think it's so interesting. I don't talk about this very much or if at all, like the
Yeah. Is this
conversation that
okay? Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, here we are. We live in a world where there's a lot going on for everybody, and
Right.
I that um go back to my cyclical life. What I learned about that
Hmm.
is that my life really is and it helped me to understand this. I found out about this from a human design, which is a protocol that you can learn, and I was friends with the man who really brought it to this country, and he had done a chart, a reading for me, and he said, like, you have a cyclical life, and it just helped me so much to understand that. Like, I understand it now in the context of so many different things. Like
Hmm.
so that was then, and then I became so much more as I was going through that. The girl that started that organization was definitely not the one that
Yeah.
walked
Yeah.
away from it. And so your question was, do I, in the grief thing, taking it with me, and all that. Um, I think it took time for me. Like I was going on a spiritual quest, I was going back and forth to that driving from, I live in the San Diego area, and driving to LA every Sunday to go there and just feed my soul. I really needed to feed my soul. And the people that were around me were no longer around me,
Hmm.
because when I left, everybody else was like, I think I'm going to stay and ride this out. And so, okay. But I think what came with me, honestly, is a compassion.
Hmm.
And also I had said and was training. I was responsible for everything in the company, but so I had my hands in all the different aspects of the company. But we had trainers that we had. Uh, that's how the whole coaching thing started. Like way back in
Right.
the day, there were hardly anything that had anything to do with coaching. So we kind of put that on the map, and all those people I was responsible for. But I was saying even back then, which is so amazing to have now encountered the Book of Being and all that, is that I was saying to them, like, with all the skills that it's who you're being while you're doing what you're doing that matters. And so I think I had embodied that. And I realized that too, is like, who I'm being right now is affecting my family and me, not that I'm doing it for the world, because the world was
Yeah.
in the past. So thank you for asking that question, because it's reminding me of how important that
Yeah,
is.
this is beautiful. That we all go through it in some form. Yeah, I mean, Becky Robbins, you were a founder of a company that went global, and you still have a chance to really decide who you're being, in that or out of that. It doesn't matter. It's who is Becky Robbins. And
Yeah,
I think Steve's going to have to rename his book to the Book of Being, not the Ultimate Coach. Like that's how everybody knows that book.
I know.
Um, was there a level of just loving and accepting what is? Because I hear people say acceptance and they think it's a resignation to what is. And acceptance is more than that. Do you have a definition that we could play with around acceptance? And did you go through some form of that?
What's your definition?
Acknowledging all that is, acknowledging it.
Um, I think for me, I'm looking at the ocean. Give me some
Yeah.
ideas. I think that that acceptance is not just acquiescing.
Hmm.
I think that's a danger. I don't think that when you acquiesce, you still that's not acceptance. That's avoidance. So it's gave me chills to think about that,
Yeah.
because then it doesn't go away. I think acceptance for me was like realizing that I'm not her anymore. I have a whole new path. I think that's why the thing about cyclical was so helpful for me, because it was like, wait a minute, I have now got a wide open path, and what am I going to do with that? And like I mentioned in somewhere, well, a woman, she had been one of my attorneys, and she came up, I ran into her, and I said, like, is you, like, how are you? What are you doing? And she had retired. And I said, and she said, well, I'm taking Spanish lessons and piano lessons. And I'm taking, I'm all these things that she was doing. And I'm taking an art class and this. And she goes, you should come with me. So I did.
Hmm.
And, but I want to say that just distracting yourself with a million things, that's not acceptance. Like
Yeah. No.
not it. What it is who now, with now that I've got a different environment, which is awesome. Now that I have a different um, level of respect for myself, because I'm still here. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm asking God, how can you use me now?
Hmm.
And that, I think, was the acceptance part, was like, okay, how can I use what just happened, and been happening, of
Ooh,
course,
I
it
like that.
just happened, but what
Yeah.
what has been happening that's now empowered me to get so strong in myself and who I know myself to be, that I was willing to leave that whole thing.
Yeah. How can I use that, right?
Yeah,
Like that to me is acceptance, is looking at all that you have around you, the resources like you said, I'm still here. The environment's changed, but I'm still here.
yeah.
And so being able to acknowledge, that's why I use the word acknowledge, and not something like resignation or to acquiesce, like you say. To acknowledge what I have around me and who I am within that, and how I can use the resources around me to create whatever's next, right? Because to me, it's all a creation. So everything that comes from here is a creation. There's to me, no set future. Maybe you have a different version of that we're just destined to be that thing. When you talk about cyclical, I want to play with that, because you keep using the word cyclical, and I'd love for you to define how you mean that when you say it. Like when you say you have a cyclical life, what does that mean when you use that?
Well, oh, this is so great, because while you were talking, I just thought of another thing that's related exactly to this.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
what's
perfect.
cyclical to me is like, it can be anything. It can be big giant things, giants. It can
Yeah.
be also it can be a small thing. But for example, my art, like I was doing a whole completely different kind of art, and
Mm,
I moved, and in the moving to a new location and packing up everything, I had to put everything in storage for a little while. And when I came out of that, there was nothing about that kind of art I wanted to do any longer. So now I'm doing a whole different version of my art, and I love what I'm doing now. And in fact, like my last painting, which they take almost a year to do, so I'm very involved in that painting, what it starts to mean and all that kind of thing. And when I don't want to diminish that, because I feel like spirit comes through me to guide my painting. So I thought at that moment, I thought like something, I wasn't quite getting what, like, I don't know what to do next. And that never happens to me.
yeah.
Alan Thompson and I were talking about creativity, and he was saying what happens? Like, do you, like, is there a muse? Is there like, what inspires you to break through a block? And I said, I never have a block, because I just feel pushed from behind of everything that wants to come through all the time. So I had a block in that one painting. And what happened was I sat back from it, and I thought, like, first of all, it scared me, because I thought maybe this is the end of this cycle of painting, and I'm going to be done with it. And then I don't even know what I'm going to do. That's part of the cyclical thing. But I want to go back to what you become, and the whole thing about acceptance. And the reason why is because looking at the point where I am now, and I think I could have done it prior to this, but not without the beautiful experience and shove from Steve Hardison, was that going back and looking at the past. I mean, I could look back that and think of everything that I could have done differently, everything that was sideways, everything that wasn't fair, all that kind of
A
stuff.
lot of people choose to do that, right? They stay stuck in that not fairness.
For a while. I did it for a while, and here's where I am now. What part did I play? Who was I? And what happened along the way where I didn't stand for myself? Maybe I sold myself short. Maybe I was like a people pleaser. Maybe I was turned, didn't want to see what was right in front of my face. Maybe I acquiesced, in being responsible or holding others responsible. And the beauty of going through that process is identifying those times. That's the not fun part,
Yeah.
Say, okay, now this girl here, this woman here, how would she handle that now? And through all these instances,
I like that. Yeah.
What's cool about that is that I know that I will never recreate something that I'm done with in a cycle. I'll never recreate it, and I will have no regrets ever. I won't, because now I realize not doing something that to do, and look at the times we're living in, would make me complicit.
Yes. Yeah. I got to anchor that in right there, what you just said, because who you are today, looking at the past and then responding to the past of how would the I that I am right now handle that if I were to do that over again? Yeah. And you get this fresh view of it, right? So we do what are called the journeys. So we have 6 root journeys that are all this internal stuff where you go back to that non-consciousness and you recognize, oh yeah, I used to do that, or oh yeah, I do that. And there often tends to be judgment, justification for it. And that's where people stay stuck is they might feel some sadness, but they feel justified in their judgment of it. It becomes their truth. So they don't have to change it because they were justified.
Yeah.
But if the you that you are now looks back and says, well, how would I handle it now being who I am today? That is powerful because now you can play it out differently. Now you can look at that past and say, where I was the victim, now I'm empowered.
Here's another part.
More? Yeah.
Here's another part. Instead of in addition to how would I handle it today?
Yes.
This person today put me back in those situations that I identified, and say it then. Like, imagine that you're there and that happened. And how are you today how could you relive that for yourself and rewrite that? It's rewriting history, but it's also creating me from here on out.
We rewrite history every time we bring it up. So research shows that every time we bring up a memory, we rewrite it. So why not rewrite it from that space? Because you can actually, I heard someone say there's no hope in the past, only the future. But what you're offering is hope in the past because you can actually go back and rewrite the past, which brings that hope forward to now. It brings hope forward past now.
Exactly. And then instead of repeating the story, what's the moral of the story? A whole nother thing to add to it. Okay, wait a minute. I did all the things that we just talked about. And now what's the moral of the story?
Okay, so there's the story of Gilgamesh, right? The first written story in history. I think it was 25,000 BC. And we are story creatures. So we think in metaphor, we think in story. If it weren't for our delusions, I think all of us would lose our minds. They say that people who are depressed see reality like it is. And most of us that are happy don't see reality like it is. We see it from our story, from our quote unquote delusion. And so the narrative, like you say, the moral of the story, what's the moral of the story is we make that up. So we get to choose whatever that story is going to be. So to be able to go back and rewrite the story, I think this is very powerful for our listeners, is that you have a chance to go back and rewrite your history, like you're saying, from whatever moral you want to bring to it from who you are today. And 10 years from now, Becky, you'll be a completely different Becky Robbins.
Of course,
right?
this is another phase. I'm in this phase. I mean, in this cycle, but I'll be, um, this is so exciting to think about this
Hmm.
because we've never been in a time like this in recorded history. I think we could all agree with that. So if we're here now, and we are here now, what's the reason for my existence? Am I stepping into that? Like I don't want every day to be the same old, because I'm equipped now. I'm equipped with a different, I think I came in equipped I arrived on the planet equipped, and with all the things that I could be, would be, um,
Agreed. Yep.
being the operative word. And um, I'm discovering myself, which is really fun. And also I mean, and my art has so many facets to it. My art has facets to it that involve a lot of research, and that's part of what the time it takes. But that's kind of what we're talking about, is doing the research.
Yeah.
And, and
This is fun. Yeah, this is like it's a mind journey here. Einstein said that he never created anything; he discovered things. Like he uncovered what was already there. One of our guests mentioned the idea of our ability with physics and whatnot to create, and so somebody mentioned that perhaps because of his ability to think and manipulate the future, that he created the thing to discover. Like it,
I love that. I
yeah.
love that. Can I tell you something so cool that I've
Yeah,
been doing?
absolutely. I was
I
gonna say no, but, something said, "Yeah, listen to her."
You can.
Yeah,
A friend of mine, I was out to dinner with a couple, and they were
yeah.
talking about heart math. Are you familiar with heart math?
Mm-mm.
Heart math. It's spectacular. This man named Doc Childra wrote a book called Heart Math. It's all
Okay,
math like arithmetic. And the idea is that our brain has an EKG or EEG that can be measured, right? Your brain wave. Your heart has a different one. Actually, every organ has a different frequency, but the heart and the brain are usually disconnected because we're doing what we're doing all the time. And we say come from your heart, but we're mostly not coming from our heart. We're coming from our brains and our thoughts and everything. Like right now, I'm kind of in the middle.
yeah, yeah,
My heart looking at you two guys, and I'm just so happy to be here.
yeah.
But here's the thing. When you can get that, they call it coherence.
Mm,
So I talked to this woman who did kind of some coaching with me that was really cool. And there's a little gadget, a sensor, and you just click one of them here, and it measures your heart rate, and then the other one on your measures your brain. And you go into coherence by really start feeling like you're breathing from your heart. Your heart's doing the breathing, and you're just like
mm.
heart centered, and it's like really like eight, 8 count in and 8 count out, like really slow. And you hook it up to an app on your phone called Inner Balance, and it starts measuring, like it can tell if you're in
Interesting.
coherence or not.
Yeah.
Just gives you an indication how the coherence. Here's the benefit of it. How, first of all, it feels so amazing to be in that space, and it's your heart is informing your brain, not your brain informing your heart. And it increases your intuition. It helps your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So you're absolutely having such a deep effect on your entire body.
Mm.
And then at the night, I can do it for like 15 minutes. The way I do it is I read my document. I have my document printed out, so I can just look down and I know it in my heart.
For those that don't know what that is, will you describe what a document is? What the
Yes,
document is?
I love
Yeah.
that, because first of all, you have to buy the book, the Ultimate Coach book, the Book of Being, and it describes it in there, a process that you go through to create like your declaration for who you are, like who I am in my life. And
Yeah.
it's like, and how am I being, and all this, and it comes from all the stuff that we talked about earlier in the program,
Yeah.
all the stuff you don't want to have to look at and that's still affecting you. Then in the middle of that, you go through a forgiveness process. It's in the book. And
Mm.
at the end of that, you come out with, who am I being? Who am I? It is so beautiful. It is
Mm.
so beautiful. So I'm reading that while I'm doing the breathing, while the sensor on my phone is showing me how coherent I am. And
Yeah.
here's
Wow.
another cool thing about this. You can do it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And at the end of that, when you stop doing that, you fall into the deepest meditation. It is so beautiful. So if you have a hard time meditating, this is the perfect thing to do. So that's been really helpful for me.
Okay, so this is fun because like we do in our journey. So we have the root journeys first, and then we go into the growth journey. So you go into uncertainty and abundance and vision and surrender. And so as you look into getting into that meditative state, right?
Mhm.
When I wrote my books, and I've got more behind it, there were downloads. It wasn't my mind thinking, what could I write about that people would like? It was just download and capture it. And it took me being in a space like what you're describing here for that to download, kind of like your artwork. You don't know what you're going to paint beforehand. You just let it flow through you, and it becomes a flow instead of like this mind creation, right?
Yeah, for
Can you
sure.
speak about that a little bit? So when you look at uncertainty, the unknown, let's say from that space of empowerment where your body is in tune and your heart and mind are aligned, let's call it that for now, and maybe
Mhm.
you have a better word, but then you look forward into the unknown. And a lot of people look at the unknown from a space of fear. And so when they look forward, they feel fear about the future because they see a progression of what's already been. But when you're in that meditative state, like you described, and you look at the unknown, can you describe for us kind of what your process would be, or how you experience the unknown from that space?
Well, part of my document, one of the things in my document says, I am wonderment and certainty in the unknown,
Yeah.
or in the not known yet. And I love that because I mean, all the people in the world that have invented anything,
I am certainty in the unknown.
I am wonderment and
Wonderment.
certainty.
Okay. Why did you write that? Yeah.
Because we can be so afraid of like, or worried we won't be able to win the lottery because that's unknown, we're worried that we'll never meet the right person, or
Yeah.
we're all the things the major things that we all worry about. And those are all unknowns. Unknown is what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes. Your next question is my unknown.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if I'm in
Beautiful.
a state of wonder and just being okay about that, like, I wonder what's going to happen, and like, I love that feeling of that. I
Yeah.
love it in my art. And my art has been like such a spiritual teacher for me, because
Huh.
my process is I'll have a Steve, yay. I
He
have
was messaging me as you were talking, so that's why I was like, hold on
Oh,
just one sec.
thank you. Thank you. So I have a process where something will happen, and I start on the board. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's a big whiteboard. There's one behind me that's in process right
Yeah,
now.
this is a great metaphor for life right here, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I start with complete unknown, and it's a whiteboard that's got gesso on it, and it means that if I make a mistake, I can't make a mistake. So I have to be
Mm,
very focused on what I'm going to do. And I have no idea. Like, for example, maybe there's a bird singing on the wire outside. Like, then I think, oh my gosh, I have a book about that. I'm going to go and grab that book, because that all birds don't sing like that. They're only songbirds that sing like that, I've learned. And then songbirds have two complete sets of vocal apparatus. And long ago, I was a nurse for a short period of time because I love anatomy and I love physiology and I love all of that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering, is there something I can find? Google that, and see, is there some kind
yeah,
of
so
a
curiosity kicks in, right?
yeah,
Like,
is there an
yeah,
image? And then, oh, yeah, okay, there's an image. And then I think, okay, who took a picture of that, or whatever it is?
huh,
It's not the vocal cords of a bird, but how fascinating is that? They can sing two songs at the same time, and
huh.
they can mimic someone else. They can hear another bird singing and harmonize with that bird. I mean, that's nature that we have around us all the time. So I'm curious about that stuff. And then I go back, I'll find an image, and then I have to go and get permission from whoever created the image for the intellectual property rights people, and make sure I've got permission, which has been wonderful. Now I have relationships with people
Wow,
all over
yeah.
the world. And then I start painting. So that's why they take so long. But it's just been so much fun to
That is so cool. Yeah, there's a process there, like inspiration, curiosity,
yeah,
a blank canvas,
yeah,
right? And in all of that, nothing happens. You know, some research, right? You do some research, but nothing happens until you start painting. Like that's the metaphor right there that I see is you'll have inspiration, you get curious, you do your research, and then people don't paint. They don't take the step, right? Like that small step is so powerful. You know, in the book, the small, he takes the steps and the giant just walks away and he says, "Don't you know I can't walk as fast as you? I can't keep up." And the giant says, "Yeah, but you did." Right?
yeah.
So it's this idea that we take these small steps, we start painting, we start creating our imagination into this reality after we've done all that stuff.
And I
And
love the part where you say, "Yeah, but you still did,"
yeah,
because since I don't plan anything and it's all kind of disparate images, and then they start to tell me what the through line is,
oh
what's
yeah,
the storyline,
huh.
and they take on a whole thing that I would never have ever created. Like I have one right here to my right that ended up being all about Carl Sagan's um, Voyager mission, where he asked
Yeah, I
NASA
just
to
saw that the other day.
turn that around and take a picture, one last picture of Earth. And they said, you know, you're never going to get it because it's so Voyager's so far away. So of course they took the picture and they have to draw like a little graphic arrow on because it was in a shaft of sunlight and you cannot hardly see it. It's just like it's like the tip of a ballpoint pen, you know, and he called it
Wow.
the pale blue dot. And he wrote a beautiful couple of paragraphs about this is where we live. This is all we got, you know, and this is what everything has ever happened has happened right there on that little dot. Gives
Huh.
me chills. So, you know, like that comes that now that became that painting. And that
Right.
one was called Solitude and Silence when it finally told me what it was. So life is like that. If we just keep on and we don't quit and we don't when it gets hard and it's all I pick things for some reason that are so hard and have I don't do it on purpose, but that maybe my skill is getting better. So now I'm tackling things that are harder. But
Yeah, yeah.
there's a great lesson in that too. It's like that requires focus. And I'm yeah,
That's beautiful. And we all have our own way of doing that to take that I say the ethereal and bring it to the material.
yeah,
And that might be music, that might be words, it might be painting, it might be speaking, but we all have that ability to create and take something that is an imagination and bring it into reality. I think that's the power humans have. But so many of us get stuck in our story that we can't see that. We think life happens to us. We're reacting to life. We're victims of life. We're martyrs to life, right? And what you're sharing here is that when you get into that space of loving what is, kind of like what Byron Katie says, loving what is, it's not acquiescing. It's not, you know, giving up. It's just acknowledging this is where I'm at and this is who I am within that. And
mhm.
I know I can count on me. So when I look at the unknown, I know I can create something out of that.
And it's a
What,
muscle.
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
It's a muscle. No, just like writing is a muscle,
Yeah.
painting is a muscle, sports is a muscle. I mean, parenting is you know, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a commitment to keep on going until you have like that, not until, but then you start getting this deep satisfaction about
Mm.
what you create, what you're creating. And that to me just keeps me involved and keeps me I mean, I'll always be doing a million things at once. And I'm my company name is Everything Becky. So, you
I
know, I'm
like it.
like, oh, you know, wait a minute, you know, you need to simplify because you want to do this and you know, this and this. And now I'm going to India in February with the group that's promoting a big event in India in February with in Mumbai with the ultimate coach and I'm so excited and they asked me to speak there so just like
Huh.
today I'm like I don't know what I'm going to say I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm going to speak and then here we are but but I want to make some fabrics from my art I want to get into textiles and a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other things and so like I'm expanding I'll always be growing and expanding so
Beautiful. Well, okay, so there's a concept that we hold for abundance. Okay. Richard Paul Evans calls it chaos. He says chaos is the mind of creation. And abundance to us in our world, a lot of people think of abundance and they think material abundance, they think wealth. Um, our view is that abundance is already all around you. It's everything. It's infinite resources, people, things that you can transform from the form they're in to the form that you want. Like as you look at your painting, you get to draw from the abundance to create that. So it's now you've had the curiosity, you have the imagination, you start stepping. The stepping involves pulling the abundance that's around you to create what you're creating in this reality. You're transforming it from one form to another, from paint in a tube to a painting on a wall, right? Like, can you speak about abundance a little bit? Is there a version of that you can help us with?
Well, I like that you didn't limit it only to financial abundance, but I think that we mistakenly and innocently create like a gap between where we are and where we want to be, or how much we have and how much we wish we had.
Do we put conditions on it? How would you describe that? Okay.
Well, probably it probably has to come from this or come from that, or like
right.
I wish this or I wish that. But when there's that gap is the I don't yet have it. So it's that I want it, but it's over there. I have to embody it before I can have it. And that means, like, back to the painting, you asked that question. I don't know what I'm going to paint next, or I don't even, like, I'm doing something really hard right now. And I was like, yesterday, but I know I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not going to quit and throw this whole thing out.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
okay, that's powerful. Like, I'm going to hit on this. So keep going and I'll come back. So
go ahead.
You ready now? Yeah. Okay. So hope theory says that when we have a hope for a future, so when you create a clear vision of where you're going, hope theory suggests that not only can you see a brighter future, you know you're the one that will create it, and you'll overcome any barrier to make it happen. And in what you're just sharing, you have a vision. You don't know how you're going to do it. You'll overcome any barrier, pull your hair out, right? To make it a reality. You know, you are the one that will create that reality. Does that bring something up?
Yeah, I know that I'm the one that must do it for myself. But if there's a barrier, if I'm experiencing a barrier, it's like yesterday on this thing I'm doing, walk away for a little bit. Because if I'm looking at this is a barrier, you can't get past that. If you want to talk like frequency and stuff, I feel like you want to say, okay, like if assign this word barrier and chaotic frequency to it, but the ease and grace and flow of me doing something, I've experienced that too in doing my art more than the other, or I wouldn't be doing it still. So I need, if I get into that place, I need to stop, walk away, go sit outside, go read something, go eat something, and then come back fresh. And then I just step right into it, because I want no obstacles in my life. That doesn't mean there aren't any. It just means if they're ones that I can handle, if I can figure it out, it's sort of like living an impeccable life. Like if I get in my car and it still has no gas in it, go put gas in the car so it's not something I have to worry about later. I'm figuring out all these kinds of things that I've figured out, like things that even here's a fun one that's just so simple. It's like when I'm tired at night and it's time to, then I'm gonna drag myself up the stairs and go to bed and stuff. Why not create, like when you go to a lovely hotel and you walk into the hotel room and the bed's all turned down and the lights are down and there's, whatever, they've got some radio station playing or something. It's like, I want to create those kinds of things in my life. So I go upstairs, or, a couple hours earlier, or right after dinner or something, turn the bed down, turn the lights down.
Wow. Yeah.
Those kinds of things just create a level of, I'm happy with myself. I'm ending the day in a beautiful way.
Yeah. Does it bring peace?
There's gas in the car. If I have to go somewhere tonight, like what, like get ready a little ahead of time. So I don't like being late. That's not impeccable. I'm just
Yeah.
trying, those kinds of little things that you can do in your life that are like practices for yourself. Like my meditation is a practice. And then I made it easier by figuring out, oh my gosh, this heart math thing makes it so much more pleasant and so much easier for me. And I'm really digging it because it shows me how successful I was on my phone. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I got to 100% today. Like that's never happens.
Beautiful. So you track it.
Yeah, it tracks it for me. And then, and I don't beat myself up ever. It's like, and
Okay, that's that right there. That can we hang there for a minute? The
sure.
beat yourself up, because it's like you do your best to do your best. And at the end of the day, maybe you don't hit your target, but you do your best. And what you just offered there is you don't beat yourself up over it. You just kind of let that go, right?
I do let that go. And I'm going to pull something up, so maybe we have time to do this. How much
Becky,
time do we have?
Becky, have you always done that? Have you always been able to just let it go, or is there something that you've learned as a practice to be able to start releasing that, or because judgment for a lot of people, they're usually their harshest critic, and some get caught up in it more than others.
Yes.
Do you have any advice? Any thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I just lost you. I'll find you.
We can see you. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have about 15 minutes or so, and we're good to go long if you are. So
okay. I'm just looking for something that I can get to.
Yeah, we get to see your beautiful face, so we're good. So
you guys are so
I
good.
thought you were talking to me.
Ryan, we get to see your beautiful face.
I've been working on the technical side. It's been an interesting morning as far as technology, but we usually find that when there's technical glitches and issues, it's the best shows. So let's keep going.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think that
maybe we declared it, and so it is because
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Don't declare that before I'm on it ever again.
Yeah.
Although now I have a new identity as being like.
Don't you ever do that again? Yeah.
I promise I won't. I promise I won't. I wanted to pull this up. Here's the question that you asked me, and here's my answer.
Huh.
Like the document I referred to.
Yeah.
Is like magic. It's like the most magic thing because
yeah,
I don't go to bed. I get up in an amazing place. It's the first thing I do before I get out of bed. I have it recorded so I can hear myself saying it to myself. So I just push the button and I'm lying there and I don't even get out of bed or turn the light on. I just grab my phone and push play. I do the same thing before I go to sleep at night. So I don't go to sleep with I wish I would have, or I wish I could have. And I pulled it over here so that I could make sure that I could say it without, but I would like to tell you my document.
Yeah, please do. Yep.
Pretty amazing. I am the universe. I am that I belong here. I am one of a kind. I am made of God. And I create magic in every area of my life. My temple. I love this one. My life is a temple for my soul's growth, and my heart is open wide. I'm incredibly unique and incredibly beautiful. I'm a curator of epiphanies, a master of curiosity, and an expert at reciprocity. I am divinely intuitive, inspiring, and present with everyone. I'm capable and confident, inspiring, intuitive, brilliant, and I accomplish the improbable and the impossible with ease. I am that the universe inspires greatness within me. I'm an intrepid explorer of life and the beneficiary of the majesty of my creator. I'm a force of nature, and my imagination leaves footprints for others in my wake. I'm here bearing witness to, shining in, and as the glory of God. I am that. This is the part right now with you guys, where I appreciate the moments before they become memories. I am wonderment and certainty in the yet unknown. I am devoted to the fun, fulfilling, and spectacular financial abundance I'm creating. My art is divinely inspired. I'm devoted to the care of my temple, and I stand inside a living miracle. No one is worthy of my judgment, and everyone is worthy of my love. I am a beacon of love and light and possibility. I am love itself. I am grace upon grace, and my consistency compounds. I am that I nurture all humanity. I am that divine intelligence and purest love has already created my beloved, including the perfect timing of our union. I am a lightning rod for miracles. This is who I am. And my mother named me Becky.
I love that. I love it. I love it as a declaration, right? This is who I'm committed to be in this world. And um, just absolutely beautiful. I learned from Steve Hardison as well, the declaration. Townsend Wardlaw was a mentor as well, and he worked with Steve. And he says the greatest area for growth is where you are not those things, right? Like the greatest area for increase is where you are not. When you show up and you're not that word, it's an opportunity to recommit to those things. And can you kind of share the distinction between a declaration and an affirmation? Is there a distinction there?
Yeah, for sure. Because back to the gap I spoke of.
Yep.
If I'm saying I am a lottery winner, I know I'm a lottery winner. I'm not there yet. There's a big gap between my bank balance and the 1.2 billion that was last week.
Right. Yeah.
But also, I didn't go buy a lottery ticket, so there's that.
There is that. Yeah.
But I think affirmations. I think affirmations can be like I am skinny. I don't know. I don't, obviously I don't use affirmations because I think that like there's too much, a level of that is too much of a gap between here I am and that's where I want to be.
That feels,
my brain kicks in. I want it to be from my heart. My declaration came from all the trauma and drama and everything in my life. And like, for example, like I belong here came from walking out of that empire that I had.
Yeah. Wow.
Where do I belong? Where do I even belong? Like all the people that were in my life were all part of that. And then the next part of in the middle of that is like, I forgive myself for judging myself as irrelevant, as unimportant, as gone, and the truth of who I am is I belong here. So that's a lot of difference between an affirmation.
Yeah.
Because I could have just gone from like who am I now that I'm out of there and I don't even have any, but all my friends were friends from that world because I didn't have time for anything else, to saying I belong here. And that's, well, I don't belong here yet. You must have that middle bit, and you must have the time to really figure out that part of you. All these things are in the Ultimate Coach book, but it is a powerful process to go through.
Let me ask you this. So this is Steve Chandler's languaging here of what is your living legacy? So we would ask the question, what is the legacy you're wanting to leave? The gift by will. But he takes it further and says, what am I leaving now? So what is your living legacy if you were to describe that?
Wow. I said that to Alan Thompson, not exactly like that, but I said, I want to leave a legacy. And he said, you already are a legacy. And thank you, Alan, for that. I think that what my heart says is that when I take my last breath, which the other night almost happened. I was in a scary plane ride, really scary plane ride. And as we started to touch down, and then it was raining, crazy rain here. It was last Tuesday, just coming back from Phoenix, and it was like it was like bad weather. And the pilot is flying on instruments in, and I used to be a helicopter pilot for a little while, and so I know that flying on instruments is scary, and you can't. It's
Yeah.
like they train you by putting a hood over your head, so you can't see anything except the instruments. So I knew the pilots were flying on instruments because it was soupy soup that we were flying through. I was looking out the window, and then I'm thinking to myself, like, his landing gear went down, and so I knew we're losing altitude. And then all of a sudden, he pulled back up again at the last second. And then nothing. No, everybody got quiet in the plane. There were a mother and a daughter sitting across the aisle from each other, and they were holding hands. And I got to experience the feeling of, if this is it, if this is it, how do I want to be? How do I want to be? And I just went to the most peaceful place of going into my heart, because now that I know that I can do this, I just started sending love to everybody that I love, that I care about. It started with of course, my kids and my family, and spread it out to anybody that came into my mind. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I did what I came here to do. I lived from my heart. I cared about people. I love deeply. I'm loyal. And so it's like, that's me living through my document, me being at peace with myself spiritually, which I am. And I know I'm going to grow and change still, while I'm here. And I hope I'm here another 30, 40 years. That would be cool. I'd like to be here and see the other side of this massive change we're experiencing as humanity, and contribute to it. And
that's beautiful. Yeah. There's hope for the future in that. That living legacy, just you're being that. So you're being love right now in the world, and you're expanding that out. And that's beautiful. There's 111 comments right now. That's a synchronistic number. So we'll take that.
Right as Steve Hardison pops on there.
Right.
I know, right?
It's awesome.
Is there anything that I should have asked, or let me rephrase that, could have asked, that you feel you wanted to share, or anything that's coming through now that you feel you still want to share that maybe we missed?
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for whatever your process was to get to the point where you wrote your book.
Yeah, thank you.
The illustrator is spectacular. As an artist, I'm loving that. Oh my God, I love that so much. Steve, you're priceless. You're priceless.
I think he was comment 112, but
and thank you for that, because Steve gave me your book.
Oh, beautiful.
In front of him. He gave me 3 of them because he said, because I have 3 little ones in my life that can read books. And so he gave me your book. And I really appreciate you doing that. And from whatever, it's like the paintings are a totality of my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
So when I say they take almost a year, no, they took decades.
Yeah.
And so did your book. And I appreciate you for that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. You're learning. There's a book I'm listening to called How to Receive, I think. And part of that is receiving things like this. Like, thank you. That feels really good to receive that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Ryan, any other thoughts you want to share today?
There's lately, I don't know why I've sat back a little bit more. Today was handling some issues that were going on so that you two could bring forward the message that you both live, and it's very evident that you both live that. I get to spend quite a bit of time, and even more time, with Nick now, because we work together on a daily basis now, and he's doing his work. He's an amazing human being who deeply cares, and when stuff comes up for him, he sits with it, and then he wonders, and he gets curious about how he can grow from those experiences. And then he leans on other giants, and he asks them how they're experiencing him and what he can do with the information that he's received, and he grows through it so that he can then help more people and more people and more people. This is Nick Smith, and um,
Love
to
that.
sit here in support of giants like you, to be able to bring forward these messages each week, even though sometimes I don't get to comment as much as what's on my heart, it comes through you, and I see it and I feel it and I know it, and I'm so appreciative of your time and who you be, Becky, because um, the world is so much of a better place. Um, People get to see hope and something new for themselves by hearing you and seeing you and experiencing you. So thank you for letting our audience do that, so that they can continue to elevate and grow. And it's today, that's what it's done for me. So thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you. I just have chills. Thank you so much. You guys are so special. I'm so, so grateful for you. This is more than I could have ever imagined. I'm grateful.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. I've learned so much today. There's things and perceptions I didn't have before coming into this show. Ways of looking at the world, ways of experiencing the world. I think the biggest thing that I'm gleaning from this is the idea of the story, the moral that we make up for our story, that no matter what it is, that if we start to create that confidence in us, like you say, that declaration of us, then everything else is manageable. We can do it. We can create, right? So the unknown is exciting and wonderful. It's like you go at it with wonderment, curiosity,
Yeah.
rather than fear. And I think that's the beauty of this message, is that we want to portray that for others, is you don't have to be afraid of your future. You can find peace in your future. You can find your peace right now. And that's what we're trying to create is, if you find that peace within you, the rest is easy.
Yeah. It's easy, and it's not easy, because the easy
Yeah.
part is
Okay.
setting it
Yeah.
up so that you can create that, like setting it up, like my practices, that you create for yourself, so that you walk
Yeah.
into a beautiful environment, or you walk into, food cooking, or the refrigerator's not empty, all those little things, that make your life
Yeah.
better, right? And then you come from that place of wholeness and peacefulness, and then when you don't, you go back there and and correct it. Thank you for all the things that you said, because, and also, Ryan, wow, like, I appreciate you so much, and both of you guys, you're such heart space people. And the last thing I want to say is, like, I belong here.
Hmm.
Like, this is a tribe now of like-minded, like-hearted people, who we get each other, and that is, like, so powerful for me,
Hmm.
especially because
Yeah.
we are each other. We belong to one another here, and there's a merciful factor in that.
There's grace in that. I mean, we have people that are watching from Australia, the UK, here in America, Canada. This is a global venue. And, to have people who think like we do all over the world, it is a tribe. Yeah. Is a beautiful thing. And that's our vision, that we bring together our tribe. I don't even know what that looks like, but we're building it. It's beautiful. We're just recognizing it, I assume. So anything
Cool.
else you want to share today?
No, I'm here for you, however I
Yeah.
can help you.
Becky, thank you. Thank you. Um, I know when you say that you mean that, and I have no idea what to ask, but I'll sit with that. Thank
Deal.
you. For those that are watching, as always, remember you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You already have everything that you need around you. So now, like Becky says, start painting. Go make it a beautiful day. We will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.